All right, well, this is a great day. We're here to really open up the Frank Angileri Quality Institute Symposium. It's a lot of work that has been done to put this together, and we're actually doing it for the first year here at the MEC building, which is kind of cool because this is where all the mobility and all the EV components are going to be coming in the next 5 to 10 years. So before I get started, I want to talk or just do a little introductions. Board of Trustees, we have Brian Broderick from the Schoolcraft Board of Trustees. Brian, stand up, thank you. From our foundation board, we have Marina Shoemaker. Marina, thank you. The mayor of Schoolcraft College, Stu Baker. Ram on Anojam, please. And then I've got some leadership here. Stacy Whidden. Where's Stacy? I'm not sure if she's here yet. Rob Ludley. Rob is here. Steve Kaufman. Lori Couture-Snyder. And obviously Dawn and a lot of others. So I want to ask all the members of the Quality Institute Advisory Board to stand as well, because you guys have put together an event that is going to be something that we're going to continue with for the next 5 to 10, 15, 20 years. So for those advisory board members, please stand up. You've come together with a lot of information, a lot of expertise, a lot of industry knowledge. And so this is going to be something that our students, everybody in the community is going to be able to take and to move forward with. So I want to start with Frank Angileri. He's been very supportive of Schoolcraft College for the past several years. In fact, plans were started back in 2019 before the pandemic to discuss and to develop this type of idea. We were able to get it done in 2022, and we actually opened up the Angileri Quality Institute over at the VistaTech Center. Obviously, right now, the VistaTech Center is under some construction because we're going to make that entranceway as you come in be so much more inviting. So you will be able to see all of the food, all the beer that we do as well, because we do brewery, and you'll also be able to see the Quality Institute as you walk in. So we're excited about that for fall of 2023. So we're going to be inviting everybody back to that environment for this conference. Frank enjoyed an exemplary career in quality control spanning 50 years, including 34 years at Ford Motor Company, of which he's been very proud of. The Angileri Quality Institute Symposium is Mr. Angileri's dream of bringing together students, faculty, and members of industry to explore issues, potential solutions that advance the standards and best practices of automotive quality control. So please bring your attention right now to this screen to view a video about Frank Angileri, the founder of the Angileri Quality Institute.
The Schoolcraft College Foundation has the great fortune of having Frank Angileri as an extended member of the Schoolcraft College family, and is grateful for his continued support of Schoolcraft College and our students. Because of his generosity, we are hosting the first Angileri Quality Symposium with the goal to stimulate growing interest and support education for the growing demand for quality within the automotive industry. To understand Frank's passion for quality and education, you need to know his story. Frank was born in Sicily and studied economics at the University of Palermo, and was just 1 year short of his PhD. He met his wife Bessie while she was vacationing in Sicily visiting relatives. Soon, Frank married Bessie and moved to seek employment. Frank entered his new life with a strong work ethic, and he soon had many jobs, including employment at Saunders and Hudson's. While working, Frank made numerous friends and assisted in translating articles from English into Italian for a Detroit area newspaper. In 1953, Frank accepted a position with Chrysler. A year later, he moved to a quality engineer position at Ford Motor Company. After 34 years with Ford, Frank retired. But that didn't last long. Soon after retirement, he opened Quality Concepts and Strategies Consulting, which lasted 16 years. Frank's wife, Bessie, passed away in 2014. After his wife's death, Frank continues to honor their commitment to giving back, particularly to educating students about quality and the skills needed to be successful. He sees this as his legacy and gratitude to the new country that enabled his accomplishments and a tribute to his wonderful wife, Bessie. In addition to the Angileri Quality Symposium, Frank's generosity also supported the Frank E. and Bessie Angileri Quality Institute, a conference center located in the VistaTech Center. VistaTech is currently under renovation. This space will be used for future Angileri Quality Symposiums. We hope you enjoy the Angileri Quality Symposium and keep in mind Frank's favorite quote from Reader's Digest: "Efficiency, the ability to do a job well, plus the desire to do it better."
Well, Frank is not able to be here today. I would like to introduce his niece, Annette Hollins, and she would like to say a few words. And Annette, you want to come up?
Thank you very much. For as long as I can remember, my uncle was a proponent of quality. His long career at Ford definitely shows that, his consulting business, and even in his home, for as long as I can remember, whenever a job needed to be done, he had hired a contractor. That contractor was held to an efficient job, a job well done, in a timely manner, organized manner. Those were what he lived by, and he tried to instill that in everybody else. So between his passion for quality and his value for education, this dream of his, this vision of his for this quality symposium, we're so grateful that now it's become a reality for him. He would have loved this today. He would have loved to have been here. At 96 years old, he is still telling me about his caregivers and who is sharp and efficient and organized and who is not. So it's still in him, even though he's 96 years old. He would have loved this. So thank you to all the people at Schoolcraft who worked so hard to put this together, all the presenters today, panelists, students. He would be so happy. Just please enjoy the morning, and thank you very much.
And obviously, as Annette and Ken know, Frank is a character. So we love Frank, and he is unbelievable in terms of driving that passion for quality, that passion to get it right, and to make sure you continue to improve every day. And that's why it's such a great linkage between what we do at Schoolcraft College, which is the same motto, or model. We look at curriculum, we continue to build curriculum, we continue to tweak it. Work with industry partners to make it better every single day. And this is an example of right now where we're sitting in a lab, which is going to be real life, right next to partners like Alpha and NYX, and it makes a difference to our students. And so I see a lot of students in the audience, and this makes me very happy to see that we're giving you guys that type of experience. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Todd Latouf, who is the Global Director of Program Management and Launch for Magna International.
An idea is the starting point. The deeper you explore it, the more possibilities you see. What if that starting point has 65 years of thinking behind it? Technologies and solutions that change the way we move and how we impact our planet. Imagine the possibilities. When new ideas meet Magna innovation, anything is possible. We're advancing mobility for everyone and everything. And it's happening now.
Well, good morning, everybody. And just to start from a quality perspective, Frank Halavity was our Global Director of Program Management. Unfortunately, Frank is sick today. So I told Frank that I'd take this today. I'm the Group General Manager in Cosma. I've got responsibility for some of our manufacturing sites here in Canada and the USA. With that, I just want to start out at the very beginning and say how envious I am for some of the next generation coming up in quality engineering and manufacturing. Today's environment, we haven't seen significant change in the automotive industry since Henry Ford first started with the production line. And with the electrification of vehicles and mobility today, over the next 10 to 15 years, you're going to see some significant changes in the auto business. And starting out your career in this type of environment, I'm envious. So with that, let me just talk a little bit about where we're here for today and quality. And if you take a look at what we're talking about is Industry 4.0, the effects of Industry 4.0 on quality as we move forward. And some of us that are around the table remember the 1980s, and a text message back then was actually either typed or written on a piece of paper and sent to people. Some of us will probably remember taking typing class in high school with a record player. I remember it. And then mobile phone. Mobile phone, we used to have these little cards that we would go to a phone booth. You probably don't see a lot of them today. And and I see some of the older gentlemen right now laughing about it. And you would actually make a phone call. That's how we got to know how things were. And then if you were lucky, you had a pager. So if somebody was paging you, that you can actually then get to a phone booth. So that's how it was in the 80s. Then we used to sit back, next slide please. Then we would sit back and we'd gather all this data, and then we'd have to collate it. We had teams of people that would collate data. And sometimes it would take days, weeks to collate data. And then from taking that data, we would go to the next level of how do we deal with it. So today, if you take a look at what is the role of quality in today's environment, a lot of it, they're facilitators. Quality people today are basically the ones that facilitate a lot of what we talked about, taking data, root causing analysis. We're basically, from that, we're establishing what's important. We take all this data, we're putting it into information, and then that information is identifying what's important. Also, how do we measure? That's an important thing. We'll take what the engineers will come up, for product engineers will design something, we'll take it in to control plans. How do we measure this data? What tools are we using? And then one of the big things is ensure its effective use for continuous improvement. We never stop. One of the big things that you'll hear with Tesla, and it's coming with General Motors and everything else, as the vehicles go out, they always continuously improve. If anybody owns a vehicle today, you'll see that. They'll continuously improve the vehicle as you're moving forward. You'll see new things on the dashboard. You'll see changes on a regular basis, and you see that with your iPhone or your phones. It's always continuously improving. It's the same piece of hardware, but it gets better over time. And that's really the roles. So in Industry 4.0, data collection today is a little different than it was back in the 80s. You'll see that we've got optic 3D coordinated measuring machines. That data is basically, we'll take equipment. We'll actually, some people call blue light scan, other type of scans. We'll scan this, put that into data, and we'll take that data and we'll bring it through our organization. The other is little simple augmented reality. We use this in our facilities today. You'll take an iPad or a template, and we've got CAD data, and you click it, you just point it at the part, it'll click, and it'll tell you how, what is good and what's not. We use this in our facilities today, what we call is GP12. At the end of all of our new launches, before something gets to the customer, it goes through a secondary or last inspection, and it gets checked with our augmented reality to make sure that we didn't miss anything, and it validates the production process that we've done as we move forward. So there's real-time data is available from anywhere, anytime. That's a big thing today. Everybody in our organization has that capability of utilizing that data, and it's real-time data, and we're making decisions based on real-time data. One of the examples I want to show here, and this is actually from one of my facilities, it's actually a control room. So if you walk into one of my facilities, we have sensors on our presses, we have sensors in our equipment, and I have a reliability engineer full-time on day shift, and we have technicians on night shift as well. And they're monitoring the equipment. They know if something's going out of whack before the people on the shop floor do. And we'll flag that information when we get to the process controls. And here's an example of a situation, a real-life situation. One of our presses gave us an early warning. If you take a look at that gear on there, that gear is a 4-foot diameter gear. It's on one of our main presses, and it has to be oiled on a regular basis. What happened is there was an early warning sign that gear was not being oiled, and we started seeing some overheating. So on the night shift, that flagged. Before that, in the past, would have been a failure that would have been 4 to 8 weeks to fix. That failure was identified, stopped, fixed, and then continued on, basically avoiding significant downtime. Imagine the amount of money, and I've seen this happen, where something like that would fail. We'd have to outsource that business. So you're outsourcing product to suppliers that really don't understand the product itself. So imagine from a quality standpoint, you're sending it, you're hoping you get good quality out of that coming back. Here, all of that is avoided and mitigated. Implications for quality discipline. Basically, 90% of our time right now is focused on continuous improvement. Because of this is we're always continuing, we're focusing all of our good quality engineering, manufacturing, product engineering people on what does that look like for continuous improvement. And that's why we're able to get to that next level and stay competitive in our operations. Quality is now owned by every person in the organization. Good example, I'm the group general manager, and I'm talking about quality today, right? Frank Calavity's got it globally, but that's one of the big things in my role, and in one of the things I instill in all of my organization, that is what we're about, right? Imagine you buying your iPhone and you took it out of the box and you hit the start button and it didn't work. How would you feel? Okay? Or worst case, you're driving down the highway at 70 miles an hour and you had a problem with your car, right? That's the kind of things that we look at as we're moving forward. Quality is everybody's responsibility. 60 to 70% reduction in lead times to solve issues. That's a huge thing because we knowing up front right now. Remember I talked at the very beginning about the 80s. We get all that data and we got to put it into information. And there's a difference. Data is just points. Information is putting into something that's readable. Now because of the real time, we've got our dashboards that are putting this real time data. So instead of spending all that time, remember all the people in those rooms, which were good quality engineers, spending all that time collating data. Now those good people are spending time solving problems, okay? And that's why you got the 60 to 70% reduction in lead time, because they don't have to do the non-value added portion. Plus, the collation of data is also an area where you can make a lot of mistakes as well. So now that you've got that data that's not being collated properly into dashboards, this is the type of lead times and reductions that we're seeing. So this is why in an automotive environment today, it used to take 5 years, 7 years to launch new vehicles. You're seeing new vehicles launching in 3 to 4 years, in some cases 2. And in some of markets like, I always go back to the cellular phones or computers. You're seeing new product every year, every 2 years. You expect to see a new iPhone every year, or you expect to see a new Android type of product every year. It's because of things like this that are allowing them to do that. And that's the game changer right there. The analogy I've used with Frank on this when I looked at it, and I said, Frank, this reminds me of Google back in around 2000. I think everybody remembers Yahoo. You probably remember that. And then Google came. Why did Google take over? It was speed of decision making. You can actually get into Google, hit search what you wanted, and instantaneously it came up. That's why the transformation. So if you take a look at what the big game changer of Industry 4.0 can do for us, and I always tell people we're not smarter than the people were 15 or 20 years ago. What we are is be able to take data faster and make decisions faster than the people were able to make 15, 20, 30 years ago. And that's the game changer right now that we see, and that's what Industry 4.0 is helping us with. So when you take a look at our results in Magna, so in the last 5 years, because we've instituted this, and this is a journey, we're still going through this journey, we've had over 126 customer quality awards in the last 5 years. And a lot of it is because of the game changing that we've done here. We've successfully launched over 800 programs in the last 5 years. A program is a seat for a new vehicle, could be a new body that we do. My facility, we stamp bodies for Mercedes, for BMW, for General Motors. We make doors, lift gates. Those are new launches. So we've successfully launched over 800 programs, and we reduced our failure cost of quality by 45%. And at the end of the day, that's millions of dollars of reduced cost of poor quality. And this all translates back to the customer, in making sure that we have successful product going to the customer. So at the end of the day, we do all of this to make sure that we can service our customer and continue to be competitive in today's environment. And basically, we've seen 50% reduction in customer incidents over this. If you go back years, yes, we talk about recalls today with Automotive. You usually don't see that type of as much as we did back in the old days. So this is the type of things that we're seeing. And with that, just in summary, Industry 4.0 enables real-time analysis of high-quality data, frees quality experts to focus on continuous improvement, and basically you got your data collection that gets to analytics and improvement. That's really the sum of Industry 4.0 today. And with that, thank you very much.
Thanks, great presentation. Todd, if you could just talk a little bit about, you talked about data a lot. How are people being trained in data?
Sorry, say that again?
How are people being trained in data acquisition analysis?
What we've done, it's a journey. So what we've done at Magna is all of our people from our presidents to shop floor have gone through Industry 4.0 training, we call it. And it started with basically the example I gave with the 1980s. That's perfect. That was one of the first presentations. And we do it on videos, and then we have training sessions. So we ask people to do it, and we pull people in from the shop floor, and we'll do the training that way. Typically, if our people in salaried workforce, they take time during the day and they'll go through it on their computer. But what we start with is understanding the definition of data. People think data, information are the same thing, and it's not. Data is, when you look at it, data could be a thermocouple giving us temperatures, right? And it does it every, sometimes it could do one every second, sometimes it's every 10 seconds, etc. And you'll just see this, on an Excel spreadsheet. That's data. Taking that and putting it into what I call information, into the dashboard. So a dashboard example is when you're driving your vehicle, you got your dashboard on your vehicle. You're taking that data that you got from all the sensors on your vehicle, you don't realize it, but it shows up as data, your speed, RPMs, etc. You understand it now. That's how we teach people the definition of the difference of data. And then what we do is we go through root cause training. So we'll do the standards we learned from our customers. We use 8D as an example, as our standard moving forward. We use in the 8D, we use 5Y. This is our quality group, are the experts that we train that train the rest of our organization on how we problem solve. So then we'll take that information that's been collated, and we're always continuously changing our dashboards. It's always continuous improvement. And then we've got what we do is in our plants, we'll pull out fast response boards so that it's basically a structured template, and it's the old hand writing down, for what's the problem, but we're using the Industry 4.0 data to help us in that root cause analysis. So that's how we do it on the production floor. If we've got some tough decisions that have to happen, like with our reliability that we talked about, that kind of stuff we'll put into a cross-functional team, quality engineer, manufacturing engineer, product engineer, outside consultants if we need to, or suppliers. And we'll go through the same process, but in a little more detail. So that's how we structure things in our organization. So taking that data has to go into some information in a dashboard type of process, then goes through a structured problem-solving process to get to the root cause. That's how we do it. Yes, I guess I'm going to be a little bit, one of the reasons why I'm here is trying to promote quality engineering. One of the big things that we see, it's not just quality, but we've got multi-craft, I'm going to call them, some call them mechatronics technicians, we call them multi-craft or tool makers. We see significant shortage in those areas, quality engineers. And this is one of the reasons why I'm here today, is I'm asking my teams to put plans in place to bring these people in early so that we can get them into our business, grow them. And some of that reason is we see significant growth, and capital is not our biggest problem for growth. Our biggest problem for growth is skilled people. And in some cases, I'm not taking certain business on because I don't have the skill set to be able to take that business on. So to your point, that's one of the biggest issues we're doing right now with a lot of the students that are here today. That's why I'm a little bit envious, is you can pick whatever field that you want to get into. And I'm talking automotive. I know there's shortages in other areas too, but in our field, there's significant shortages that are here and are going to be here. And we're hoping that we can get some good people moving into it. And as you see in some of our videos, we're not an old 1920s type plants. Those days are gone. Today's technology, you've got newer, you've got technology on the shop floor. You've got clean work environments. These are the type of plants that we have in today's environment, and we're looking for good people to come on board.
One last question. Oh, back in the back. Do you want to? Can you talk very loudly? I'll run over there. Here, just a minute. One thing you can tell, I'm not a quality person, but for students in the room, these guys are very precise. You'll notice that Todd made up the time that we were late.
So with the need for new workers and stuff like that, why should students choose Magna?
Well, I guess it's, well, the way that I look at it from a student standpoint is, where do you want to be? We've had, in our environment, we've had presidents, vice presidents that have started on the production floor or started as young engineers. Myself, I'm a chemical engineer background. I'm a Canadian that started in Windsor on the shop floor in a seeding plant and moved up to a group general manager. I've done expat assignments globally for the business, and it's been, the environment that I've seen, the technology that I get into, and not only that, but one of the big things for me is I pride myself that I've been able to employ a lot of people. So when you take a look at the type of type of jobs that we're able to give to a lot of people. Not just, we're talking our technical people, but I'm talking people, our production employees. Everybody is able to get a middle class income, benefits, able to, raise a family, buy a home, rent if they want to, buy cars, etc. I'm pretty proud of that, okay? And that's kind of what drives me. Something may drive people differently. Some people, it's all about their career growth, and that's absolutely, you can get that in our business. We're 160,000 employees worldwide. If you've got the attitude that, you want to drive and strive and continuously improve, there's no top for you. Yeah, you can continue to grow. That's I guess, the answer I can give you right now, why Magna. And, the founder of Magna originally came from Austria and moved to Canada. He was a tool maker, couldn't get a job because after the war, tried to start this business up. So I tried to get hired by OEMs, couldn't get in. So he got frustrated, started his own business, and he wanted to make sure people didn't get treated the way he got treated. So in our business, we treat people, doesn't matter where you're at, the same. Doesn't matter, you'll come into our plants, you're not going to see reserved parking for general managers. You're not going to see, differences, same cafeterias, same everything, okay? We're all the same. And that's some of the strength that we have at Magna is, there's open door policy. If there's a concern, anybody can walk into anybody's business, and I always say, put that smelly fish on the table and we can deal with it.
Thank you, Todd, and thank you for your questions. We're going to now move on to our next speaker. It's my pleasure now to turn the mic over to Kush Shah, CEO of Global Organizational Excellence Solutions. Kush.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Good morning. Yes, I want a very lively crowd here. I'm not going to be at the podium. I'm a teacher at heart, so I like to walk around. So if that's okay with everyone. So just give you a little bit more about my background. I worked for General Motors for 37 years as a senior manager for operational excellence. And I had the opportunity to go over all the different locations globally and had been in quality for over 30 years. So hopefully this presentation will be very helpful to you. Next slide, please. So what the quality used to be is focusing on the parts. So I'm really kind of going way, way back. And if you can remember the TV with those rabbit, antennas, it was okay while you're watching TV, somebody's adjusting that for you, right? It was okay for you, you put up with it. So it was more about conformance to requirements. What the quality has changed now is customer assumes that your product is going to be a good product. It is not like you are expecting to get something with defect. The question is, can you surpass customer expectations? So really need to understand if you're going in a quality profession, the definition of quality has changed. So you really need to kind of look at the Starbucks or Apple. I resisted getting an Apple product because I thought it was insanely expensive. But guess what? Once I bought one, everything has been now Apple. I cannot get away from it, right? So this is what I want you to understand, that the quality has changed, the definition has changed. Next slide, please. So what does it mean for the automotive quality? So automotive quality, here are the customers. You cannot design a product which just works for a very specific portion. It has to meet from youngest to the oldest. People who are going to drive like it's a racetrack versus the people who want to drive very nicely. And it is also includes safety, styling, and all these other aspects. I'm not going to read it to you, but the aspects of quality is looking at all of these things together. It is not about, and I had to tell the people at the top of General Motors, when you look at the acceleration, it is not about 0 to 60 miles, because guess what, if you're in Detroit, how many times can you go 0 to 60 wide open throttle, right? So the customer expectation is different, and you need to address all of those different issues. Next slide, please. So what happens? So the topic I'm talking about is what happens when the demand is high and supply is low. What do you do with the quality? So all of us have heard about the chip shortage. This is just kind of quickly giving it to you what happened with the automotive industry. The expectations for the volume has gone up drastically, and you are using, your vehicle has more electronics than space shuttle. Okay? So there is a lot more electronics which is involved here, and because of that we needed the wafers. And the point here is we needed to understand not about just a tier 1 supplier, but tier N supplier. Where are the wafers coming from? You are competing against people who are getting the wafers for iPhones. So you could not just kind of go, and if you have been in automotive business, it's a very low profit margin. You are trying to get every penny out of the cost. So you are competing against, so this is where you need to understand why this was created, such a shortage of vehicles and the microchips are concerned. So what are we going to do? How do you maintain quality in these circumstances? So next few slides, and here is a quick thing. Here is where your CEO or your leader is telling, hey, we need to make sure the quality stays good. And this is where, as a quality person, what are you going to do? So next slide. Quality is not just quality department's responsibility. Quality's responsibility lies with your total enterprise. If your enterprise does not believe in quality as a whole, if you are not from the concept standpoint, you are not thinking of quality, you are in trouble. Since I retired from GM, my wife thought I'll be at home just watching TV. Guess what? I have been busier than ever. I'm currently working with 2 EV OEMs who are facing a lot of different issues. And this is where you're finding out is you have to build quality in. It is not about after the fact. Next slide. This is also very important is quality. There are 3 aspects of quality. Quality planning, when you're building a brand new product, when you're designing, you talk about quality planning. Then you have quality control. When you go into manufacturing, this is where some amount of variation happens. And at the end, you're talking about quality improvement. What happens in automotive industry is we keep on learning the same lesson again and again. The next product comes in, goes through the same iterations, and then next time we go through the same thing. The chart here is showing that the organizations which are going to do really well are the ones who are learning from what they learned from this black product and applying it to the blue product to get the world-class quality. I hope this interests you, and at the end of this presentation, I'm going to ask you how many people want to be involved with quality, and I hope everybody raises their hand, okay? Next slide. So I've tried to get a lot of different concepts in few slides. So you see a lot of organizations focusing on just the reactive quality, or what I call is as a firefighting. What is the problem of the day? Let's go and fix it. We need to go from reactive quality to the proactive quality to the predictive quality. And this is where the quality 4.0, industry 4.0 comes in the picture, is can I predict it? And the way I look at is house is on fire. You see this firefighter carrying a little pet or little baby outside. Everybody's it's in the news. No news station is going after a person who's putting the smoke detector. They don't get the visibility, but that is so important. And this is where you really want to be able to do is to predict where the fires are going to be happening. So this is where you need to look at reactive quality, proactive quality, and the predictive quality all together. Next slide. This is becoming extremely important, is the risk management. Nobody thought about COVID. Nobody thought about what is going to happen where your earthquakes are happening. So this is where you need to identify as an organization, where are your risks, analyzing the risk, and then how are you going to respond? One of the things which has come out recently about power loss, we had OEMs which had to go down because the supplier lost power, could not make the product. So we really have to look at risk response and risk control. So if you are involved in quality, the risk management is becoming very critical in the current situation. Next slide. This is about integrated approach to data analytics. How many of you buy product from Amazon? They know a lot about you, right? They are almost telling you, hey, you should buy this next, right? What is happening? They are looking at the data is not just siloed. It is a very integrated data. They look at what the customer wants, they predict. So how do you look at this big data? You are going to hear, students, you are going to hear more and more about what is big data. How do you analyze all this data? How do I automate it? It is reproducible, flexible, and is it a robust data? The organizations who can integrate the data. So if somebody buys a GM vehicle, why did they buy the vehicle? How can we get them to the next most expensive vehicle? And how can we make more money? That is what we really need to do. So it needs to be combining sales, marketing, operation, all that data needs to be integrated. It cannot be a siloed data. You cannot have different systems and residing all these different data streams. Next slide. So, how many of you have heard about IATF? So IATF, the Automotive Quality Standard, as a student, I would really like you to get more engaged with this one. So as you can see on the top one, and I know hopefully you can see, there are about 10, and this list is growing to 11 pretty soon. More and more automotive companies are creating a standard by which the quality is required. So when I spent yesterday at a supplier, it is a requirement that they are IATF 16949. What is happening is this is a global standard, and it is better than ISO 9001. It requires a much better requirements, and as you can see, and today we have AIAG group, and they are very much engaged with that, creating the core tools. So having a good quality standard, which is not specific to just one company, but across the industry, is very, very important. Because what was happening to the suppliers, GM would come in and say, I want these requirements. Then Ford will come. So there is a lot of redundant work which was being done by following this standard. Irrespective of what the demand is, they have to follow this standard. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we are going to show you, do I have the time for the video? Okay, so we are going to show you this video. It's in a sense quality in a negative way, but it is a very impactful. I had actually all the GM executives watch this video and learn from it. So hopefully you can also get something out of this.
Engines throttling up, 3 engines now at 104%. Challenger, go and throttle up. Looking very carefully at the situation. Obviously a major malfunction.
Nancy and I are pained to the core with the tragedy of the shuttle challenge. This is truly a national loss.
That Toyota drivers have experienced.
They potentially had the best answers, so I know whose ass to kick.
So now we'll open it up to questions for Mr. Shaw. Okay.
Hi, Mr. Shaw. My name is Allison. I'm a Schoolcraft student. Oh, Mr. Cush? Cush, okay. So before things get to the level as we saw in the video, do you have any practical ideas for training students to focus on that quality outcomes influencing quality planning relationship? And how can we implement that into training programs at a more basic level while students are in school?
Very good point. I think that is in schools we talk more about problem solving, not as much about problem prevention. So what I would really like to do is to get more about process FEMA, design FEMA. That's actually what I did yesterday with the supplier, because we are in a situation where we are impacting the production of electric vehicle, and everybody was focused more about how to solve the problem, and I had to bring them back saying, where is your FEMA and all this. So answering your question, we need to, in education, talk more about risk management, risk identification. Those are some of the things I would like to see it included in the schools. And I'll be happy to help, okay?
Next question. Of course, Steve. Just a minute. Let me go over here.
Hey, thank you, Kush, for a great presentation. It is my unverified belief that the poor little microchips are getting unfairly blamed while there are other things broken within a supply chain from basically throwing the off switch in the global economy. Either way, you mentioned that it's often a lack of visibility. It's down to from not just the relationship between the tier one and the OEM, but all the way down through to the supply chain. Where are you seeing successes or adapted practices of OEMs being more effective to reach down for that visibility to offer this solutions either through their size or just their simple technical capabilities and being more collaborative? What do you see that's going to be a positive that comes out of things?
Extremely good, great question. So before I retired from GM, the question which came to me is microchip was, okay, here is what happened, here is how we are addressing it. What is the next one? So what I really created is a process to really for OEM to go all the way to the raw material and understanding the process. Unfortunately, I cannot, but once I showed that process, they loved it so much. So they said, we are going to make it as a trade secret. You cannot disclose it to anybody else. But what I can tell you right now is the work I did there with GM, the vice president of the purchasing at GM, I originally did it only for some specific products. He has said, I want this done for everything. So right now, at least as a GM, we are looking at as an OEM to all the way to the raw material and understanding what is the risk associated rather than just tier 1 or tier 2. So
do you see that as something that manufacturers realize
they have to do it. They have to, because here is what I tell you. What was an eye-opening for them is even though they thought they had several tier 1 and tier 2, when you get down to the raw material was coming from the same source. And that source was located in geographically not so good a location. So everybody was thinking, oh, don't worry about it because we have tier 1, tier 2, different ones. We are well diversified. In reality, if something went wrong with the raw material, it would be an issue. So that's what I'm...
Okay, we have time for one more question. Any questions? In the back. Just a minute. Okay.
Hi. Regarding your web of automotive qualities, which one do you believe you or other companies struggle to satisfy the most?
The one which is, everybody talks about JD Power and the 90-day. How many of you can buy new car every 90 days? Right? So one of the biggest challenge right now for the automotive industry is reliability. Okay, so if you go and focus on it, the reliability, how do we, and there are a lot of unknowns, especially as we are going to the EV. So when you are talking about the batteries, when you're talking about all the electronics which goes in, the reliability is, because everybody wants to tout they got a great product out in the market. The question is that product going to last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, what's going to happen? So that is the biggest. So thanks again.
Okay.
If anybody is interested in quality, I will be happy to mentor. Any of the students who want to utilize quality, I'll be happy to help them. Thanks.
Great, thank you, thank you. Well, we're keeping with schedule. We have a 15-minute break scheduled, so we will start promptly at 9:15. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce Dan West, who is the president and CEO of the Livonia Chamber of Commerce. Dan, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. And, I'm looking forward to this panel because I know a lot of these fine people here. You just heard from Todd a moment ago. And just to let you know, the Livonia Chamber of Commerce, we're just under 1,000 members. And really, through some of the people on this panel, through Gene Kais, Rob Ledley, Amy Jones and company, and Dr. Cerny, we've been intimately involved in the workforce discussion and the disconnect between what young people are getting trained in and what the workforce needs for about a good 10, 12 years now. And it's a grind, and it's why events like this are important, to keep that discussion going and to hopefully get to people to think differently about how they view workforce and change some cultural paradigms and some misnomers and stuff like that. The one thing Chuck Dardis says all the time through all this stuff is there's a great passion and a lot of enjoyment in building and repairing things, and I think that kind of got lost through a lot of educational philosophies in the last several decades. So I look forward to the discussion today because in actually talking with this panel ahead of the setup for this today, we realized that workforce and all of us play a role in connecting the dots between a student, a young person pursuing a career, their education, and their careers. And I think programs like this are a great step towards advancing that discussion. So we're going to move on with our panel right now. We got 4 reps from great companies representing the manufacturing industry. And we'll begin with Tracy DeSanto from GM. Tracy, welcome.
Thanks, Dan. And can you hear me okay?
Maybe bring it a little closer.
Let me move this up a little bit.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tracy DeSanto. I am the Assistant Director for Workforce Design, DE&I at General Motors. I've been with General Motors not quite a year. I have 20 plus years of experience in the energy industry, so joining GM from DTE Energy. So I'm really excited to be here. What a great place and time to be here as it relates to the future of mobility. So I'm excited to be here.
So,
my name's Chuck Dardis. I work with a local manufacturing company. In fact, we're just down the street, so we're up against Farmington Road. I've been with Alpha for about 20 years, but I've been in the auto industry since 1977. So quite a few years. It's interesting hearing the discussion on quality. It is all of our responsibilities, and certainly in our business. And I was writing down some notes. I was thinking, for us, the real customer that we deal with is that person on the line that puts our part onto a vehicle. Because if we make his life miserable, well, we shouldn't be doing it. I also tell our employees that when you go into an assembly plant, I know a lot of you haven't been to an assembly plant before, but they're mammoth. They're millions of square feet. And I tell our employees, we do not have the right to introduce a non-conforming product into those facilities. So we operate at very, very low levels of PPM. I mean, our goal is always 0, but we're fractional. Across all of our customers, we sell about 260 million parts a year. We're at probably 0.3 ppm. So we want that to be 0, but it's a very, very small number, and we're proud of it. So thank you for letting me be here today, and if you have any questions for me, I'll be glad to answer them.
Great. I think my name's Todd Latoufe. I think I've been in the industry. I actually started with Magna in 1992, I won't go too much into Magna since you've already seen some of it, but we've grown significantly over the last 40 years.
I'll say.
Yeah.
They're 40 billion.
Yeah. When I started with Magna, I think we were less than $1 billion back in 1992. So significant growth. I think I remember sitting down when somebody said, wow, we're going to be bigger than McDonald's in sales. And that was a big shocker for us at the time. But it comes back to the basics, as always. I think, as Chuck indicated, the biggest issue is making sure that quality product gets to the customer on time at a competitive price. I think a bunch of us talked about that today, and that's really what we're trying to do every day. I think we do a very good job of it, and also our partners appreciate it. And I think that's what allows us to continue to stay competitive in today's environment.
Hey, good morning. I'm Stephen Balder. In 2008, I started SB Precision LLC. currently co-own the company and run it with my wife and friend and very capable business partner, Tracy Balder, who will be embarrassed for me calling out, but wave, thank you. Tracy is 100% dedicated to SB Precision. I'm about 30 plus hours a week. In my other time, I'm in Ford Motor Company. I have 20 plus years experience in marketing, sales, and service, various operational roles. Largest part of that time has been in Ford Six Sigma Quality Initiative, or at least involved with it. I'm a black belt, master black belt instructor and something of an evangelist for DMAIC and DCOV methodologies. These are structured approaches within the Six Sigma framework, quantitative approaches to solving problems or setting up systems. Our company, SB Precision, is focused on CNC and computerized manufacturing equipment. We like to say that the basic idea is that modern manufacturing equipment, the equipment itself, the iron, outlives the electronics. So we buy factory filthy CNC machines. We fully remanufacture them, refit them with all new electronics, PC, PLC controls. We configure them as needed for the customer, and we basically want to return that machine to service for the next 10 or 20 years. We have our own line of controls and software, and we also collaborate with local companies on automation and machinery projects, and we're very, very proud to most recently be collaborating with Schoolcraft College here at the MEC, offering an accredited course that's been from the catalog as an internship in manufacturing, but it's a paid internship that we recently completed in the spring with 2 students who've gone on to great jobs. And we have some information on both what the machines our students made up front, as well as information on the program that we're expanding here a little bit for the new winter semester, and I would love to talk with some of the students. Our compensation package for this is actually north of $40 an hour. We're quite proud of that, and would also like to talk informally with some of the industry folks here today at the breaks, kind of get their bounce on the internship programs and how something might apply like that at their company. So thank you. So very happy to be here today.
Well, Steve, it's a good transition to the next question I was going to ask. And on the panel, who here is looking for workers? Raise your hand. In the room, managers, who's looking for workers? I guess let's go down the panel and start with you, Tracy. What type of workers are you looking for, and what kind of skill sets do they require?
Well, there are all different types of careers at General Motors. If we're thinking about manufacturing, we have a large number of positions that are from a production perspective, general assembly, technicians. You can even move into the professional environment or the office environment where we're looking for HR, accounting, that type of field. But from a manufacturing perspective, a number of different entry-level jobs that look for individuals who have technical backgrounds, and really we're looking for those technical athletes, individuals that really have experience in those areas, and definitely want to hear from the students here today.
So, Chuck?
Well, we're looking for a lot of people. Our company was founded in 1957, so we've been in business for 65 years. I was telling somebody earlier that when you look at that, one of the really great things about Alpha is we got a lot of longevity in our employee base. One gentleman, November 7th, is going to have been with us for 50 years. So that's really wonderful, but it's also bad for us because all those people are going to be migrating out very soon. Especially people in the 40 years plus. We've got 11 of those, and they're all of our heavy hitters. They're in our all of our different mechanical operations. They're in our tool room. They're in maintenance. They're electricians. So we've got a lot of skills that are going to be migrating out. So we've got opportunities, but it's everywhere. And one thing I wanted to mention too, when you hear about manufacturing, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be working in a press shop. Manufacturing is made up of accounting. It's made up of logistics. It's human resources. It's all these different functions. I know that the woman that's our vice president production planning and materials. She started out as our receptionist. So in companies like ours, there's a tremendous amount of growth potential. You don't have to come in and just be one thing for the rest of your life. It's kind of up to you. And we offer a lot of educational opportunities as well. So it's across the board what we need, Dan. But I think that companies like ours, the smaller companies, there's a lot of opportunity out there. Obviously the big companies there are as well. But we've got a number of opportunities for people, and it's pretty much across the board, and we need help pretty much everywhere, right, Veronica?
Okay. Todd.
Dan, I think it's very similar to what Tracy and Chuck indicated. Right now for today, the focus in this is with quality, but we need our quality people, quality engineers, quality techs. We're still looking for all of our skilled workforce. But very similar to what Tracy said, with growth, we need people in materials and logistics. We need HR. We need people in finance and accounting. Our product engineering, our manufacturing engineering, all areas of the business. We're looking for people. And as Chuck indicated, when you do come into our business, one of the big things that we really focus on too is the growth and training. So we've had people come in and our shop floor associates, and they've come in, decided to take education, and some of them have moved into careers in finance, some of them have moved into careers in skilled trades, controls engineers, or some of them have moved into areas of product engineering in our product engineering offices. And this is stuff that we'll pay for as well. The type of individuals that we want, I think the first is a good attitude, somebody that's hungry for learning, someone that's not afraid to try to push the envelope, not afraid to make decisions, even though they may fail. It's okay to fail. I always tell the team, it's okay to fail. Let's just not make the same mistake twice if we possibly can. Yes. And that's kind of our approach as we move forward. And open, transparent type of organization, that's what we want. We want people that are coming in that are, always looking at it that way, because there's as things grow and as we grow, it's very easy to look at the negative. One of the things we always try to do is learn from those issues and how do we get better. And that's the type of people that we want within our business.
Steve?
Probably going to see some themes as we get to the end of the day here from the start of the day. We've heard, I think, sense of ownership is a big one in an employee, and also that quality moves from historically maybe a specialist role or a separate division of people who are more valued for having that cross systems view and that sense of ownership. And when I was thinking about this panel here, I talked with one of the companies I do a long time collaboration with, and it was actually two of his employees that spoke up that said, look, it's the biggest thing for us. It's our name, my name or Kenny's name, that goes on the products that go out to our tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 customers that are buying this. That was very clear to me that they're saying you have a sense of ownership in those types of employees, and those people also would never say something like, that's not in my job description, because their job description is to get it done and to get it done right. And I think if you can, for the students here, if you can form that as a basis of your career and your work ethic, you're going to do very well anywhere.
Yeah, go ahead, Chuck.
I think you're hearing too that we all have very aggressive educational programs. Obviously, you guys do. General Motors does, the Ford does. Even our little company, we've got people going to U of M Dearborn right now, to Schoolcraft. We've had people get MBAs, right, Veronica? We're not afraid to educate our people either, but there has to be a willingness on your part as well. But you come into companies like ours, and we're going to promote you to want to promote yourself, to keep going. And we'll back you, we're going to pay for it. We're not, like in our business, again, we're a lot smaller, but we don't we don't have our employees pay for any of it. We expect some great performance in the course of that, but we are really assertive and aggressive with helping you continue on. If you end up with a 2-year degree here, maybe we help you get that 4-year degree. Or we find out what your specialty is and what you want to do. Well, we'll stretch you out into that. I mean, as long as it's pertinent to our operations, we like to serve that need that our employees have. That's what I wanted to add.
I want to add a couple other items too. One of the things that we're doing at General Motors is really focusing on skills first. We're making a shift to look at the skills of the individuals, not to say that degrees aren't important, they are, but that's one of many skills that individuals have. And we want to remove those barriers for individuals that could potentially get these jobs that have strong skills, certificates, maybe an associate's degree, or just that work experience. So again, removing those barriers so individuals that have those skills can come in and have a family-sustaining career at GM.
Actually, Tracy, it's a great segue into my next question. I was going to ask each of you on the panel, to your best college. I know this contradicts all the quality stuff about precise numbers and stuff like that, but in this case, we're just asking for a precise guess. What percentage of the job openings you have right now would require an associate's degree or a certificate or appropriate credential that you could earn at a community college like here at Schoolcraft?
I'll go first. I know we're looking at the data right now, so this is an estimate, but I would say approximately 30 to 40% of our jobs are non-degreed, and we're working to move the needle to other non-degreed positions today.
Okay. I would say the bulk of ours. That's why we work closely with Schoolcraft College. In fact, we've actually defined a certificate program of our own that mirrors the certificate programs at Schoolcraft. But by far, our needs would be at that level, Dan. The reason I mentioned the other programs, this is if somebody else wants to go further, but we don't require people to get 4-year degrees or get blessed with advanced degrees. It's if they want to. But by far, the programs like you see out of Schoolcraft are the ones that serve our needs the best.
Yeah, and if I took out at Magna, if I took out our General Assembly, I would say majority would need some type of program that you would get from Schoolcraft, especially on the skilled trades type, or if you moved into some of the engineering, quality engineering, etc. That would be the approach that we have.
So more than half, you would say?
Yeah, more than half would need something like this. Now, if you add the General Assembly into it, I would say it's about 40% of our entire workforce needs. We would say we need some type of skill like this.
Steve? We're also, if you do get involved with us, let's say that your normal shift, your normal day ends at 4 o'clock, but your class is at 2, we let you go. We don't force you into taking evening classes. We know that's going to be short term for the semester or whatever. So we will say, sure, go to your. We'd like to make sure you go, but if it's at 2 o'clock, we say sure, and we pay them for it.
Steve.
Not completely a fair question for us, since the two positions where our small company's hiring for are the internships I mentioned here. But I will say that learning is particularly in most fields, but particularly in some of the ones in the technical trades, learning's not going to stop, education's not going to stop. You should have that mindset for your whole career. For me personally, it wasn't an or decision of do I go for a higher education or do I work in the skilled trades. I wanted both, and was fortunate that my skilled trades experience was actually as dealership technician, paid me very well to live well and also work my way through 2 degrees. So I think the mindset should really be one of so many positions in manufacturing, skilled trades. Your success is going to determine how much of your own investment you're going to put into it. Education comes from places like this. Education might come from a 4-year engineering program, and there is an amazing amount of information and education that's available out to you from the employer and just available to you in general. So consume it. Be hungry for it.
So would it be safe to say all of you, at least 40% of the openings could be filled by somebody with an associate's degree or an appropriate credential certificate?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So, what's cool about being in this building today and the discussion we've had on workforce for the last decade is the battle that the industry fights with parents of young people. We're in this very high-tech, bright, clean, modern manufacturing facility here. And I think a lot of parents have this very outdated perception of manufacturing, dark, dingy, asbestos-filled, and they don't want their kids in it. And, you know, they think it's going to be a bad scene and stuff like that. I would like to ask everyone on the panel right here, what would you say to a parent and a young person today to get them to think differently about the manufacturing industry? And I'll start with you, Steve, this time, please.
I would look at numbers. I would look at investment in education. There's a lot of discussion about education and costs. I would really say that you shouldn't purchase anything major in your life without trying to understand the use of it and where it's going to fit in and what your path is going to be to get there. I think manufacturing, particularly in this area of the country, we have some amazing opportunities at all levels, and I'm just so thankful for the career that I've continued to enjoy.
So, Todd?
I'll go back to a quality idiom. If there's a problem in a plant, go look and see it. So I would recommend if there's concerns from yourself or family, go for a tour. There's tours, General Motors does tours, Ford does tours, we do tours. Come see the facilities. See for yourself. I think that's the best. And you'll see in a lot of these in today's environment, it's almost every facility that I see today, world-class facility, to be competitive in today's market, you have to be well-structured, organized, clean, to be able to produce product to the standards that the customers expect. So that would be my recommendation. Go look, see.
I couldn't agree more. And some of the programs we've done in the community with Schoolcraft, with the chamber, we try and trap the parents to come see us too, because we want the parents to come in. So we'll have an event, but then we'll make sure that it's available for family members to come as well, so they can see what modern day manufacturing looks like. It's not that greasy, grimy, grubby hole. Any of you that want to come by, come to our facility. We've been involved in Manufacturing Day. You can see signs up there about Manufacturing Day. We've been involved in a number of them, and we brought a lot of students through our facilities. Schoolcraft, of course, NYX, Roush, Alpha. The one year, they told us that they're going to bring 125 students for lunch. So we had tables set up for 125 people. They didn't tell us that there were going to be 25 chaperones as well. So we said, now what are we going to do? And Veronica, all of us, we scrambled. But so some of the kids had to sit on the floor in our manufacturing plant. So the paper was there. They were taking pictures, and they took a picture of these kids sitting on the floor by one of our presses having lunch. And the tagline was, "Modern day manufacturing is so clean that kids can eat off the floor." And that was our facility. So, and it still looks that way. So come on by. I agree with you, Todd. Come on by. Yeah.
Well, I would say that the future of mobility is changing, for one thing. And so coming from the energy industry, I did not understand what ICE to EV was. ICE. Does everybody know what ICE is?
Yeah.
Internal combustion engine, right? I didn't know that. I think that's one thing.
It's also the cool stuff you put in gin.
It is, right? But I think that the future is changing, and one of the things that I would say is that the younger people are looking at technology, meaning they use TikTok, they look at YouTube. These videos around what the plants, from start of production all the way to the end of the line, those are out there to create visibility for and quickly at the hands of parents and students. You can watch and see how exciting it is, and the movement that we have changing from one to this future of mobility. Again, I think that the plants are a
All right, we have a few minutes for audience questions. Any questions from the audience for our fine panel today? One in the back. Yeah, we'll go in the back.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Kerbrat. I am from Novi Community School District. And my question is, how do we get our students before graduation into your facilities? Other than, we understand Manufacturing Day. It's one day of the year, and if you're not the top school that gets that piece of paper in quickest, you don't get to go. So how do we get our students into your facilities?
Who are you with again?
Novi Community School District.
Oh.
Okay? 95%.
Give Veronica a call.
Okay.
And bring
because
10 students in.
we can do work-based learning with our students starting
Right.
at we can do work-based learning with our students starting at 16. So we want to get them into you. We want to expose them to this. And so we want to make sure that they are doing this because 95% of our students go to college, but 40% stay after 1 year. Where are the rest of them going? What are they doing? We want to curb that.
Well, I can't speak for Ford, General Motors, or Magna, but Veronica Cruz right here, she's our executive that handles all of our community engagement. If you would like to come through our facilities, that's just down the street, we would welcome you to. If you want to bring a group of 10, or if you want us to pay for the how many you want? Okay, I'd say because when we got involved in the young inventors, I remember talking to the school, and they said how many do you want? And I said, how many do you have? Because we have to open up so people can see, and we could help arrange transportation. Please just talk to Veronica. She's great at this, and she can help you. And we'd love to have you come by. But I can't speak for these other people. Their businesses are bigger than ours.
Anybody else want to add to that?
Yes.
Yeah, one of the things, and it's shame on us, okay? One of the things that I know that we're doing, and it's unfortunately it's a little too late, but it's something, regardless, we're doing it, is we've purposely taken, in my area, I've taken one of my general managers, 40 years of experience, put him into a new role, and he's a subject matter expert now, and also half of his role is focusing in the U.S. On skilled trades development. And one of the reasons why I'm here right now, because this is close to my home, is I basically adopted this area. And so with that said, we'll give you my email address. Please give me an email. We'll get people in touch. I personally am going to be doing at least 3 or 4 of these a year in this area. If it's with high schools, I want to do it with the high schools too. As we're moving forward, and it's a structure that we're doing with a lot of our leadership as we're moving on, so that we can share some of our experience, but more importantly, get it out to the community, and this is a great direction to go in. And I'm not just focused on just the skilled trades. That's a big one for today, but I'm looking at it all. I would love to have people, product engineers. I want to have people from that are finance, HR, all areas. Come consider us. We're a great company, and here's what we can do for you as well. So after that, please take my email address, send, and we'll get in touch and we'll do something.
I just want to insert.
Just hand the mic over. Hand the mic over to Steve.
Sorry. A shameless plug for Schoolcraft College. Veronica and I can work with you to create a partnership, and I've got an idea for a pretty cool model for students, and it doesn't involve early college, so I will give you my card.
Okay.
So, Steve, Tracy, do you want to add anything to the school outreach?
I was going to say, we have quite a few programs, and we just launched our new website, which will be on the slides that we have that they can send out as well. But we have an early career talent program, a track program, an Excel program. There are a number of different internship activities and opportunities for students. And certainly you can contact me as well if you have interest. But there are quite a few opportunities for young people to get exposure and experience at GM.
We're a small company, and we made it a point of our internship to take our students out to some of the companies that we partner and collaborate with. More manufacturing companies need to be able to open their doors. We're happy to talk with anybody or show our facility or anything. So.
This gentleman right here.
I teach statistics at U of M Dearborn. No doubt you expect your hires to have statistical knowledge. What topics do we statistics instructors need to do a better job of covering and explaining for the graduates you would want to hire?
I'll start. Right now, GM is working with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and Schoolcraft is one of the colleges that we're connecting with. And this effort that they're working on, the talent action team, is to really focus on the skills and competencies of individuals in the manufacturing industry to ensure that we're looking at those high demand areas and that they really are training for the skills necessary in those jobs. So I'm really excited that that effort has started. And like I said, Schoolcraft is one of the colleges that we actually will be partnering with around that.
Anybody else want to add to that? Steve?
If I could say specific to statistics, I think everybody from any role in an organization, if they can have just the bare foundational understanding of the branches of descriptive versus inferential statistics, and even just a minimal working knowledge of the foundations of statistical process control, you've achieved a lot if you can have your students walk out with that. Concentrating more on the whys of it versus, okay, I'm going to force you to memorize this formula with strange things that look like sigmas and other stuff in it to try to calculate it. So to understand some of this, I'm always pointing people, and I've given them away in my life many copies of a book called The Cartoon Guide to Statistics, because that's about the right level of somebody entering, and you can always then, if you're in an organization, go on to build and to learn more off of that.
So Chuck, Todd, want to add anything?
Yeah.
We got the 1 minute thing back.
No, one more question.
I think everything that he indicated is 100% correct. One of the things from what I like to see too is somebody coming out, especially if we're talking quality side, is taking some of that data. And I'll give you an example: the difference between CP and CPK, right? And you got and you've got that bullseye, right? And if you got your high CP, but you don't have the high CPK, operationally, what are you doing, right? And typically on the product development side, we want to get more, let's focus on the CP. So we're always hitting in the same spot. Then we can easily move it over to, to get that high CPK. If people coming out of school can understand those basic concepts, that's a huge benefit for us as we're moving forward on problem solving. So, some of the basics we talked about leads to what I just talked about. And that's the big thing. When I even hire right now and interview quality managers, they don't have that concept. And that's what concerns me of hiring people. If they can't get that concept, sometimes that's, we want to grow it at our quality engineer level. Okay.
Chuck, you're good. Okay. We got time for one more question back there.
Yes. So I had a question about, do any of you guys do anything in particular with sponsorships? Like this, my club, or the club I'm a part of recently was able to join, different, like the Quality Summit this year, which was absolutely amazing. And
Can you explain the club that you're in? Detail it?
It is a manufacturing and engineering club. Yes. And we went to a Quality Summit that was absolutely amazing, and I know there's things that happen like that all over the country, and if there are students who want to be a part of things like that, but they can't afford, to go to, Florida or Maryland or California for big events like this, to get the experience, get out and network with these different companies and the work field all across the nation. Is there things that you guys offer that help students be able to do that?
Tracy, you want to start with that?
Sure. One of the programs that we're investing in right now, this is a technology program called Udacity, and Java programmers, and we've been sponsoring, actually we sponsored 100 students in the Detroit area to get that skill to either and get a certificate and either gain employment at GM or at other companies. We're looking at and investing in those types of opportunities, really focused on individuals that are underrepresented and have barriers. And so that's a lot of the work that we've been doing. And so we are looking at that in the manufacturing space as well. And as those things come up, we certainly will share that out to all of you.
Anybody else want anything?
We're very fond of Schoolcraft. Come talk to us.
Yeah, very similar to General Motors. Our organization does very similar. So we've got programs that we have. you can either come to our website and see some of that, or you can come, communicate to myself. I think I'll have the email, and then we can forward that information on to the appropriate people internally.
Steve, on anything?
Just from personal experience that any of those types of events, while there's a lot of value in there, you usually can access the people that are organizing it. And if you make your plea as a student or a student group, I've yet to see one that wouldn't, if not give you a free attendance to it, certainly a discounted rate. Now, they're probably not going to give you a nice plane ticket to Orlando in the middle, from Michigan in the middle of January, but there's a lot of things that can be done to help. And then also concerned to say, all right, what's the value of that for what I'm getting? What am I doing also at the same time within my network locally, the facilities, and the other things that are available to me locally?
Veronica just reminded me, we participate in a lot of scholarship opportunities. Like one, as we were talking to Kettering, it used to be GMI, we came across what's called the LIGHT program, L-I-T. It's Life Improves Through Engineering. And what it is for young women between their junior and senior years, and they get to go on campus at Kettering for 2 weeks. We fully fund it. So when we see opportunities like that that are good for the student, but also for the school. For example, Clarenceville used it this year. We're very open with doing that. Maybe that seminar in Tahiti we're not all that big on. But I think that we really love working with Schoolcraft students, and if there's something that's meaningful that is supported by your academic advisors, we're certainly going to be there to help. So yes, come and talk to us.
And I didn't plant that question. As you know, I run the foundation. I would encourage you to reach, to work. We should all be working a little closer together to give students opportunities like this. And as you know, Mr. Angileri, it's because of his philanthropy that we're able to bring this together today and send students to that quality conference. So at this point, I'd like to thank all of you for coming, for being part of this discussion. We will have information on the website after everything's being recorded, and we have some information that the panelists have shared. Thank you, Dan West, for moderating this panel. Let's give them a round of applause. And I'd like to ask the next panel to come up and get situated. Thank you.
Great. So while our panel is getting situated up here, I'll introduce myself. I'm Rob Ledley. I kind of serve a couple different roles here. The Dean of Occupational Programs, but I also oversee our economic development areas as well. So we have a business development center that has 3 components to it: a small business development center, which helps businesses start and grow. And we have a PTAC, Procurement Technical Assistance Center, that basically works with companies to help them gain government contracts. And then we also have a Workforce Training Solutions branch of that organization that works with companies to basically fulfill whatever workforce training that they need outside of kind of our credit program. So that can be anything from if you have a group of people that need to learn how to do Excel, we can set that up. If you need a group of employees that need some type of welding certification, we can also set that up. So we work pretty closely with companies to help you get the training for your people that you need. We also work with the state and several different initiatives that provide funding for companies to train their employees as well. So those are kind of the areas that I oversee. So I appreciate our panel, and what I'm going to do, once we get the microphone set, is I'm going to split this up a little bit, at least initially, and then we'll kind of get everybody back together. But the first, I'm going to let our faculty, we're fortunate at Schoolcraft to not have just specifically academicians teaching for us. We have people that have really relevant industry experience In fact, the majority of our instructors are part-time, and they are working in the field while they're teaching here. And so they have some experience with the real world, and we really appreciate that in our faculty. So I'm going to introduce a couple faculty off the top, and we'll talk to them first, and then get to our other panelists in a minute. So Barb Stevens and Dennis Fohe are faculty members here at Schoolcraft, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then as part of their introduction, they're going to talk about their educational and work background, especially related to quality.
All right. So I'm going to start. My name is Barb Stevens, and I went to Kettering University back when it was General Motors Institute, and both schools have a mandatory co-op. And what mandatory co-op does is it puts you out there in the industry from day one. Literally 2 weeks out of high school, I was in a General Motors plant, manufacturing plant, working, seeing the application of what my education was going to be. And that was very helpful as far as helping to determine what you wanted to do. I continued on and got my engineering degree in mechanical engineering and went to work for General Motors. And I was working in plastics. And in the 1980s, plastics had a big need for quality. And so the students, who had more relevant, recent statistical education were asked to take the lead on that. And so I remember having, them talk about Deming and us watching, they were 8mm tapes about, teaching us about Deming. So my exposure to quality was very early. Fast forward through the 1980s, I moved up to the GM Tech Center, worked in paint and polymers. Again, the polymers industry, huge need for quality. When I took a maternity leave, I decided that one of the things I wanted to do to keep myself relevant was to tutor at another community college that I won't mention in Oakland County. And that gave me the interest in teaching. So went back to work for GM for a number of years. When my son went to college and I became an empty nester, my empty nest project was to get a master's degree. And so I went back and I got a master's degree in quality from Eastern Michigan University. And I learned a lot of what I kind of knew, but it formalized that knowledge, getting that degree from EMU. I became quality manager at a construction company, which gave me, insight from another industry. And, but I always had in the back of my mind my good experience at the community college. So when I retired as quality manager, I wanted to come back and teach at the community college and was able to fulfill that. I teach Introduction to Engineering. I teach Introduction to Plastics, Introduction to Plastics Processing, where we are in this lab. That injection motor back there is a big part of my class. And then I also teach Introduction to Quality. So did that answer the questions I was supposed to answer?
Yes, that's great.
Yes, it did. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let Dennis take over then.
Okay, I'm going to try to resist my inner karaoke spirit here. So yeah, my name's Dennis Fohe. I am an instructor here in metallurgy, and I also teach some robotics classes. So quick, my background, I came up through the ranks through a community college, and I was exposed, as Barbara mentioned, I was able to get a co-op position at General Motors at a brand new division that they had called Saturn. I worked a few co-op terms at Saturn and eventually became an engineer in their test lab. So I was on the product side, product development, product validation, and then equally important, process validation. So as my role as a validation engineer, which is what it eventually grew into, I certainly saw the value, and it's been touched on here a bit, that quality really affects everyone. From the person who draws the first line in the tube in their CAD, the designer casts a huge shadow, right? We need to develop products that are not only pretty, elegant designs, but and meet the customer's requirements for strength and stiffness and fatigue. But we also need to be able to build those products over and over and over for the life of the program. So as I grew through the ranks of General Motors and continued on in my bachelor's degree, I continued on taking additional responsibilities, working with Not just product validation, but process validation. And I've heard this, and I think it was mentioned, right? Everybody is responsible for quality. It affects every aspect. And as we can identify sources of variation, if we can design those out of our products, right, before it ever hits the shop floor. You know, Chuck had mentioned, right, we don't want to deliver designs to the shop floor that they cannot make over and over and over. So through my career, I was very blessed in being able to work with quality engineers, assembly engineers, design and development engineers, and all of them carry responsibility. So in the old days, we used to send stuff to the shop floor, and if we couldn't manufacture it over and over, it fell into this lap of quality. You fix it. And I heard like having designers and people who influence the development of these products are so critical, all the way through the people who manufacture, the folks on the shop floor, right? That team is really, really cohesive and important in my experience. So, so that's a little background on me.
That's great. And I'm going to stick with the faculty for one more question, and then we'll move on. So I think, you know, Schoolcraft College, we do have a lot of courses that are credit courses in quality that are kind of specific for quality. We have, as Barb mentioned, Introduction to Quality Improvement Tools, Quality Planning, Team Building, course in Coordinate Measuring Machine, course in Geometric Dimensioning and Tolerance, and several other ones that are kind of smattered throughout our programs. We also have non-credit courses, short-term training in our Business Development Center that covers anything from APQP, Design for Six Sigma, Quality Function Deployment. There's a variety of different courses. So the question that I have for you is, outside of these courses that are specific for quality, how are we incorporating quality into all of our courses and all of our programs? And so Barb, if you want to start with that.
So, as I mentioned, one of the courses I teach is Introduction to Engineering, and we explore the different fields of engineering. And when we do industrial engineering, I do spend an inordinate amount of time on quality. And because I feel like that is something that they can all relate to. You know, we do some root cause analysis, we do two different root cause analysis labs, so that they can actually see that application and do it. Because I think doing it is so much more than me standing up there and talking about it. When I teach my plastics courses, that is a wonderful place to, again, apply the quality. You know, when we talk about running the injection molder, and there's 240 different variables that go into making a part when you injection mold it, how a design of experiments is a good way to figure out what is being influenced in that situation. And then, of course, the other class that I teach is Introduction to Plastics, which is more of a chemistry course. I talk about quality when they do their lab. We do a number of labs. You know, we talk about sources of error and how to identify, you know, where you could possibly have gone wrong. So, you know, any class I teach, I guess I have quality in the back of my mind. Because of my background, it is so influential in any manufacturing. It's got to be in the back of your mind, whatever you do. So I'll let Dennis take over for his classes.
So what she said. but no, yeah, certainly, we try to use data-driven decisions, right? We produce data, we measure product. I'm in metallurgy, right? I test a lot of materials. I don't get the opportunity to break a bunch of parts, but we certainly reinforce that we don't base decisions on one piece of data. We've got to understand our variables, right? We can measure whatever type of measure of central tendency and process variation or standard deviation, however you want to look at it. We certainly, with our data, we try to understand, right, what is this really telling us? Because at the end of the day, right, we're all problem solvers, right? So we have to have data to make good decisions. So we certainly try to roll that into curriculum regardless of the class.
Great, thank you. We're going to go on to our college representatives. And first, I'd like you to introduce yourselves. And we'll probably, let's just go in this order. If Lori, you could start, and then Michael, if you could go next, and then Karen would be next. And if you could just introduce yourself, state your role at your institution, and then respond in how you're supporting career awareness. We talked a little bit about this with our business colleagues, but now from the school side, how are we supporting really career awareness, and how are we working with industry in those efforts? So Lori, if you would start.
Good morning. My name is Lori Katua Snyder. I'm
I
chief.
think it'd be, if you guys just take the microphones out of the stands, it's going to be easier. I think then you don't have to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it on? Yes.
Perfect.
Good morning. Lori Katua Snyder, Chief Student Services Officer at Schoolcraft College. Part of my job is I'm lucky enough to partner with K-12 as well as our corporate partners, because what I want to do, I see our credentials at Schoolcraft as products. I came not only higher education, but I also worked many years at Ford. So I have a little more pragmatic approach when I'm looking in higher education and trying to see how we can create the products that are going to create careers. And one of the wonderful things we have at Schoolcraft College to help our students move in that direction is what we call stackable credentials. So a stackable credential or stackable product is something that a student can start with. Let's say they just want to dip their toe in the water. So we have something called a skill certificate. If they go full-time, they can get the skill certificate done in 2 semesters. Employers, this would be a great opportunity if you find somebody with this skill certificate to say, come on board, I want you to start practicing what you just learned, and you can help groom them upward. But a student can also stay on at Schoolcraft and use that skill certificate and move up towards a 1-year certificate, and from there, all the credits and all the learning will transfer upwards towards an associate's degree. And what's really nice about this, and it's my segue to my colleague Mike Quattro from Wayne State, is that those credits will move with that student to a 4-year college. We don't get that with a lot of the 4-year colleges, but this is how we've used quality and researching what our student needs are and researching what our employer needs are. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for that wonderful segue here. My name is Michael Quattro. I'm the Director of Educational Outreach and Transfer Initiatives at Wayne State University. And, I'm noticing a few trends here. One being the love of Schoolcraft and the respect that we have for the education, the programming, and the students here. And I'm honored to be here and represent Wayne State and be able to second that. We love having those students transfer and come in the programs that Laurie was talking about. The other thing that I'm noticing, and again, not an engineer by trade or background, but been in higher education for over 20 years now in various roles, but the idea of quality and looking at continuous improvement and making sure that we're good stewards and connecting with the community. It was great to hear in the earlier panel some of the conversation about continuing on for your education. The other areas of quality and engineering, things in business, global supply chain, accounting. It's great to hear those things. And so really I see our connection with employers and the community and Schoolcraft College kind of in 3 roles here. We're doing a lot with advisory groups where we have some of the employers that are in this room, some that are stationed in the city of Detroit where we are, coming to campus, interacting with our faculty, talking to our departments, talking to our students, and looking at what are those skills, what are the things that we need to embed and infuse within our programs so that we have value out there, that our graduates are out there and helping these companies, helping the community and moving things forward. One of the things that I can use as an example that we've done with advisory groups is we started a welding and metallurgy engineering technology program. That was something that came out of the conversations with business, so it was nice to hear having you here at the end talk about that program a little bit here. The second thing is internships. I can speak quickly. College of Engineering, we'll have 8 out of 10 of our students do some kind of internship. Again, that's another connection, another touch point with industry leaders, getting students that hands-on experience that they need to move forward. And really the third thing, again, it goes back to the idea of continuous education. It was great to hear some of the folks in the earlier panel talk about paying for an education. So we want to jump on these opportunities and start talking about how students can see themselves with these stackable credentials, this seamless transition from certificate, associate, bachelor's, and master's. That's right, we're talking about master's. We're talking about from K through 12 all the way through now to graduate school, and we want to be a part of those conversations.
Karen?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Karen Maxton, the Employment and Internship Coordinator, supporting the programs primarily in this building, so the manufacturing and engineering programs. I've been with the college for about 8 years. I came on board through a federal Department of Labor grant. We do a lot of grant work, state and federal, which provides opportunities for employers to invest in some workforce development, but it's also an opportunity for students. Sometimes the grants directly benefit the students. I also work with employers, helping them with succession planning, implementing registered apprenticeship programs, internship programs, providing that experiential learning for our students. And then the grant work, as I mentioned, keeps us pretty busy. We have, I don't even know how many grants we have right now, but one through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, a Department of Labor grant, and we have some really exciting EV and mobility grants that are in the pipeline that should be keeping us busy for years to come. I wanted to touch on a couple different things this morning related to what Rob was asking. One is the early career awareness. We're actually doing quite a bit of activity in that area. And Jennifer, I want to invite you to come find me after the program, because we have some nice stuff that we could offer. Looks like Jean's got it all covered. One of the things we're doing, we piloted it last year and it was hugely successful and popular, was bringing in high school students to do a hands-on field trip. We can accommodate 60 students at a time, and they rotate through 4 of our labs, and they leave each lab with a product that they made. So it's been very impactful, and schools are starting to actually reach out to us and say, hey, I heard about this. So we love doing those. We have dates set aside each semester to do that, so we still have a couple openings and we can fit Novi in. Some of the other things that we do are our MCAP program, where we bring in middle schoolers and they spend half a day in a few different areas of the college. One of them is here at the MEC, but also public safety and training, business, healthcare, supply chain. So that's for middle schoolers. And then I think Chuck mentioned the Young Inventors program, which reaches out to middle schoolers and helps them develop and design a product. And so they have ownership for that. That's been very successful. And then, of course, Manufacturing Day, bringing in students to our building and showing them what manufacturing looks like. And they also see businesses on the same day, so they can see that it's not dirty, dark, dangerous, dingy. Okay, that's for career awareness. As far as employer initiatives that we do, the one I really want to highlight today is registered apprenticeship. We do a lot with registered apprenticeship through the Department of Labor. We have grants that support that. And to date, since our apprenticeship program really came back into being in 2015, 2016, we've either completed or have other apprentices in the pipeline, 70 of them. So it's a very robust program. Most of it is manufacturing related, but we also do healthcare apprenticeships. The nice thing about apprenticeships and how it relates to quality is that it's designed ahead of time. There's 2 components. There's the classroom component, and then there's the on-the-job training component. And both of those are worked out ahead of time with the college, with the company, and with the Department of Labor. And all the competencies that apprentice needs to learn are identified. All the courses that they need to take are identified. And so at the end of that period of time, usually 3 to 4 years, that company has a quality, highly trained employee. And they also have that national credential from the Department of Labor. So those are a few of the things that I'm working on.
So I'm going to open up this next question. I really appreciate it. And it's all about quality. And I know Lori talked about our product being our curriculum, but we always have this argument amongst ourselves that what is our product? And my feeling is our product is our students. We're training these people for our customers, and we always have an argument about customers too, and I really feel our customers are the businesses that hire our students. We're preparing them, and we're doing it in a quality way. So I guess the question I have for the panel is, what should our employers expect in terms of our product, our students, and related to quality? So anybody can jump in there.
I'll go first. So one of the things, because of my co-op background, is I feel like hands-on experience is so much more valuable than me just lecturing. So my classes always have some kind of participation, even if it's not a lab class. You know, I'll have the students, you know, we're standing up, you know, taking part in the activity. We do brainstorming, and I've got, you know, them all giving us input, somebody recording it. I think that actual participation hands-on is important. I would like for my students to leave my class with the confidence to do those activities at work. I also feel like the teamwork is really important. We don't operate in a vacuum. And I find oftentimes people who gravitate to technical careers can be introverts, and I try to make it very clear to them that they cannot be an introvert in the workforce. They have to be on a team. They have to participate, because it takes all of us. And I think from the Magna talk is that everybody has to do quality. It is a team activity. So I guess those are the two things that I think employers can expect for students who come out of our programs.
I can add on to that.
Please.
Two things that come to mind for that question. More and more of our programs in this building are being aligned with industry recognized credentials, so that when our students leave, they not only have that Schoolcraft credential, which means a lot in the community, but they also have a credential from an industry recognized body. So the American Welding Society, NIMS, SACA is the newest one that we're pursuing to align with our mechatronics program. So I think that's something employers need to know, and that it's a value added that our students have that. The other item is that the college has identified 8 core abilities that are important for all students, employees to have, and those 8 core abilities are embedded into all of our classes, all of our programs, so that by the time a student completes an associate's degree, they will have had exposure to all of those 8 core abilities, and I just have to have them right in front of me. Communicate effectively, demonstrate creative and critical thinking, use technology effectively, use mathematics, manage information, work cooperatively, act responsibly, and demonstrate social and cultural awareness. Because it's not all about the hard skills, right? They need to have those soft skills, which I actually don't like that term. I call it professional skills or life skills. So I think that's something else that employers should know, that we have made that commitment to those professional skills through the core abilities.
And Michael, if you would, let's get from Wayne State.
I'll make it quick, but I want to add on to that too. I think I want to address not only what the employers can expect, but really what students can expect too, because there's students here in the audience. As employers, I think can expect a Wayne State education. If we're an urban serving institution, very proud of the diversity, R1 institution with the focus on research and opportunities that the students have for advanced research and seeing some cutting edge technology. I think that's one of those special things about Wayne State. But for students, what they can expect is that seamless transition to the things that you're talking about here at Schoolcraft, that we want to make sure that there's no loss of credit, there's continued momentum, so students can go right from their associate degrees, their certificates, the other training. We've taken a lot of time to really make sure that they're not losing credit, and we understand that those credits should be used towards their degree so that they can continue to advance and learn.
Great, thank you. I know we're pressed for time. I've got the 1-minute warning here, so I'm gonna go ahead and open this up for questions. So people in the audience have questions for our panelists.
Okay, are there questions for the panel? Carol?
Thank you. I just wondered from this panel and maybe part of the other panel, if I want to get a job, get into the workforce right now, what's the most in-demand job, and what class do I have to take to get it?
I can tell you it's probably truck driver, and we don't offer it here. But,
What'd you say?
but truck driver. But
I'll answer that from my perspective because I work with quite a few employers and I work with students, and one of the most in-demand occupations that I've seen that aligns with here. Okay, how's that? I would say the short answer is the occupations associated with our mechatronics program, because it is a broad field and it encompasses so many different areas, and it's growing. It's aligning with the new EV and mobility initiatives that we're seeing in the region. So I would say mechatronics is one of the top areas if people are looking for something that's in demand.
And I think you've heard that a little bit from some of our earlier panelists too. The multi-skilled professions, multi-skilled talent is something that people are looking for. I think in any of the areas that we're working here, there's a lot of demand, and I think not sure the businesses will support that. What's interesting, and I was talking to somebody just during the break, that the labor statistics aren't keeping up. They're usually a year or two behind. And so if you look at the labor statistics, it's still going to give salaries and wages that are much lower than what's being offered right now. COVID has changed things dramatically. There's jobs openings in almost every profession. We're talking here about engineering technology, but we have a whole effort in healthcare programs. In matter of fact, we're working with several different healthcare institutions on sponsorships. We have a sponsorship program for our public safety training, where our police and fire recruits will be hired by a police or fire department, and they will pay them to go, not only pay for their tuition, but pay them to go to school, or pay them as an employee while they're going to school. So it's kind of a sponsorship program that we're trying to spread to our healthcare programs as well, somewhat like an apprenticeship. Almost very much like an apprenticeship. So we're trying to do that without maybe the strings of apprenticeship, and but we can handle that too. The Department of Labor apprenticeships, everyone gets a little bit scared, but we can help people through that as well. I hope that answers that question. A lot of jobs and a lot of opportunities, and wages are actually moved up quite a bit, and it's very competitive. I think I didn't notice it that much, but when our industry colleagues were up here, it seemed like there was a little bit of competitiveness there. I don't know if you noticed it, but just a little bit. So any other questions? I loved how Tracy earlier talked about the technical athlete. I haven't heard that term before. And, for the longest time, high school athletes were doing the signing days. They have all these special signing days at school, and now they're doing signing days for apprenticeships. Some schools are doing that, and I was thinking of that as you mentioned that technical athlete, and so that's what we're going to be doing, is developing technical athletes, and the folks up here are going to do that. When we were preparing for this, Karen Maxton had one ask, I believe, and she's probably looking at me quizzically about what that's going to be, but we have a lot of people in the audience that have the opportunity, and we mentioned this earlier, to provide internships. Now, I know four-year schools, and I know a lot of internships. When people talk about internships, they think about four-year students. Well, four-year students are great. Keep doing that. That's wonderful. But most of the time, you can only get those students in the summertime. For community college, our students, they're commuters. They're available. You can hire them part-time, full-time for as long as you want while they're going to school. So I'm just kind of throwing that out there. So if we have people that want to have our students do internships, we would definitely welcome that. So appreciate the panel. Thank you very much, and thanks for your attention.
Thank you. And to me, the most exciting panel that's coming up, we're going to hear from our students that went to a recent AIAG conference. So Dave Lillane is going to be moderating that. If all the students and Dave would come up, that would be great.
Okay, so we're going to start the next session. I got a few comments I want to make beforehand. I feel like a teacher. This is like out of control, which is awesome. It's great to hear everybody talking and communicating and making connections, and I appreciate that. Before we get started, I just want to make a couple of comments. So we are a organization of 28 community colleges in the state of Michigan. We're part of that. And we have a group called MODAC. It's the Michigan Occupational Deans Advisory Council. And it's all the deans of occupational programs throughout the state. And every year we have a conference. It's called Trends in Occupational Programs. And at that conference, we give awards for excellence in faculty, as individuals, and then as teams. And I just want to recognize Gene Kais, who was the award winner for faculty excellence this year. And I also want to congratulate him on a retirement that's coming. So this is going to be his last official semester at Schoolcraft. So we want to just congratulate him and thank him for his years of service here. So if you guys can. And that kind of leads me to the next thing. So we're going to have a couple openings for positions for full-time faculty. One is going to be in the CNC machining area that Gene is going to be vacating, and then we also have one in automotive electronics. So if you know people that would be interested in something like that, that'd be great. Somebody also asked me, what about people that maybe aren't interested in full-time but want to teach part-time for us? And we would love to have that as well. So if you have somebody who's interested in teaching a class or two for us and has that expertise, we would love that. That's a big need for us. Okay. So, Dave, I'm going to turn it over to you and the students. There you go.
Thank you. First slide, next slide. Okay. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Talk to the school. They're going to post the presentations, all of this on the web. So go to the link that they're going to send out to you and you can get this. For the students, though, really would like to mention that there is a free student membership at AIAG, and you just have to apply at go.aig.org/student. There's things like this conference that you're going to hear about, future automotive expert events. There's all kinds of materials on there. So if you're considering going into automotive at all, definitely here. If you're going into manufacturing at all, definitely go take advantage of what's out there. Next. So the Quality Summit that you've heard about, the purpose in my mind for that was having all the students there assess the value of the conference in conjunction with this institute that is being formed, and key points from what they've heard. First off, I want to congratulate a lot of folks. The conference organizers for this conference today, great. The way that it flowed is kind of like one of those mathematical proofs. We had, and the administration, the leadership that has the vision of getting quality back in the education system. I remember in the 80s when University of Tennessee or Madison or Dayton, they had quality colleges, and you could go through those. So glad to see that come back. The instructors, the counselors, all of that, and especially the employers that are here. So the mix and what we've gone through so far this morning, I'd like to say that QED, the end of the proof, is right here. So I want the students to spend the time, want you to hear in their own words what they saw at the conference. And they met a lot of great people. I think that was on another, no, it's here. Okay, so the impressions. We had 7 outstanding students. I was blown away. Well-spoken, fearless, responsible. Executives, they met executives from Continental, Bosch, also the IAOB, which was mentioned, AIAG, IPC, and others. They were impressed. Continentals, I felt like it was a recruiting session. All of them were sitting around the one side of the table, and the head of quality was telling them about all the jobs, all the flexibility, the hours, some of the stuff that was mentioned here. Talent is really what this industry needs, and final is the future is bright. Sponsorships, internships, jobs, from their perspective, I don't think they're going to have a problem. So the QED for me is what you're going to hear now. I'm going to turn it over to them, hear their presentations from their side. But before, I want to throw one question out to the group before we do that, so make sure you all got microphones. And we can leave this slide up while we're doing this, so that you can put the names with the faces as we go. But the one question for the panel, what I said was this purpose of this was to assess that AIG Quality Summit and your impressions of how that would complement or fit into this quality institute that's being put together here. So go ahead.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name's Allison. I'm obviously a Schoolcraft student, part-time, and pursuing an apprenticeship in woodwork manufacturing. From what I gathered, being relatively new to the field of manufacturing from the summit, was more so an overarching theoretical perspective on quality, in that it affects every aspect of manufacturing, and it is often, while each sector of manufacturing has their own focus, is a collaborative effort, similar to what we experience as students, being members of specifically the Manufacturing and Engineering Club, learning to collaborate with different personalities, different backgrounds, to learn and to try to put our passions into action, I guess. So I'm relatively unfamiliar with quality processes, so the overarching, more general theories on quality were eye-opening for me.
Next. Just your impressions of the conference and how it fits with the program.
My name's Liam Fahey. I was really impressed with the quality conference. I didn't really know what to expect when I walked in there. I'm a second semester student here, and going into it, you know, I've worked with quality in my degree, but or not my degree, with my work experience, but I didn't know what it really was. And so it was very eye-opening to learn some of those different things in the industry, and also networking. I was able to network with other people, like specifically a company named Plexus I worked with, and they had offered our club access to their learning modules for quality. You know, so it was something that just being at the conference, speaking to people, and networking around, it really showed me how employers are really looking to help students, you know, and also just to be involved. So it was really inspirational, and the networking for me was very important. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, that was pretty well said. First off, my name is Colton Schaefer. I am going into CAD mechanical design in a applied associate's degree. And so going into that Quality Summit as well, I didn't know what to expect. And one of the major things that I was able to build on with my knowledge was the scope of everything that goes into quality control. There's many more parts of the production than just being a CAD designer that I got to learn about. And so that was really eye-opening to help build motivation to see how passionate people can be in every part of the field in the process of creating a good solution. Yeah, networking with Continental, like you were talking about, David, was very, very helpful as well. Being able to understand what an employer is really looking for, and I believe he gave a little bit of tips on building a resume. Practical stuff like that is really helpful. So the opportunity was great. I would do it all over again.
Hi, I'm Sarah Bales. I am a degreed industrial engineer, Six Sigma Black Belt, and have been working in the quality field. I came to Schoolcraft to continue my education, get some metallurgy experience as I was working at a heat treater. I have since changed jobs and now am looking more into the quality aspects, some other courses that they offer. But I believe that the summit was very worthwhile, but I think it might have been, quality and engineering are very known for their acronyms and just throwing things out there that they like to feel smart and know what they're talking about. And anybody who's new in the field would not know those acronyms. So I believe that it would be beneficial to give the students a cheat sheet, sort of say, so that they can understand what all of these presenters are talking about. Although I could follow along, I've been in the field, I know that a lot of the acronyms and verbiage that they used would have been over the head or not necessarily understood. So if it were utilized further in their quality degree or with maybe some notes or cheat sheet beforehand, I think it would have been a little easier to grasp sitting through a day and a half of presenters.
I think we can do something about that. Except the cheat sheet's a book about 50 pages long.
Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Mimi Tran. I am a junior at Wayne State University. I'm actually dual enrolled with Schoolcraft College at the moment. I'm going for mechanical engineering technology, and I'm expected to graduate December of 2023, depending on class availability. And co-ops, guys, I am looking. Okay, to the question, though, I did find the Quality Summit very insightful. It was nice to see as a student what's going on in industry, how other companies and manufacturers are collaborating, sharing ideas, sharing problem-solving steps. And I also thought that it is very beneficial to the program because it gives students exposure to what's going on and quality in general. I feel like I did walk in having no knowledge of quality. I am going for mechanical engineering technology, and we don't really have a specific quality course. So I was a little confusing with the acronyms, as Sarah said, but all of the presenters definitely gave us a lot of information on what everything is, what are issues that we're struggling with, as I'll go into is zero defects, and it definitely should be something that every student going into quality should be participating in. I feel like I've definitely learned a lot.
Yeah. And we're missing two of the panel. One's out sick and one had another conflict. So we're going to go through the presentations, hopefully rather quickly, so you get a chance to hear a little bit of what each student visited in terms of the conference.
I can just sit. So as I mentioned, my name is Allison Van Houten. I am pursuing a customized set of coursework part-time at Schoolcraft while working full-time in the work processing and manufacturing industry as an apprentice. And I'm the second ever apprentice in this area and first woman. I actually made a career change recently in following the end of the last school year. I was working in education. So this is a total change for me, total 180. I found in working with my students that there was a need for developing passions in the trades, and specifically for students from underserved communities, that there was a lack in focus on the trades and technical skills. So I decided to develop those skills myself by pursuing my apprenticeship in woodwork manufacturing. Next slide, please. So from the Quality Conference, as I mentioned, have limited knowledge in the area of quality, so I tried to glean what I could out of some of the more overarching general, and what spoke to me in particular was the social angle on quality and the collaborative aspects to quality systems. So one thing that I gathered from the keynote address, which was presented by Chris Mayhew, was that underlying all these quality systems is a qualified labor force, and what makes qualified employers or employees is this passion for what they do, which is reflected in how they operate in their quality system. So we each have a unique set of passions and experiences to share, and with that passion we can really be a qualified, valuable member of the quality team. One topic that Mayhew had addressed in his keynote address was that quality problems usually boil down to labor shortages. So this got me thinking, and the panel discussing topics on how to recruit and retain employees and develop a strong labor force, which is the backbone of effective quality system. One takeaway that I thought was pertinent was offered by Tony Mariucci, who is the supplier of engagement and unit lead at Honda, and he mentioned three aspects to recruitment and retention of employees. One being the company must be identified as a top place to work in the community, much like Schoolcraft is a top institute in our community for pursuing technical education. Two, offering employees, or in our case students, flexibility in developing an apprenticeship that works with their schedule, with their home life, allowing a balance between work and home life. And effective frontline leadership, which, as we saw today, is very apparent in Schoolcraft's leadership. Additionally, I found that students want to know, or employees or students in our case want to know how they are needed and how they can be an integral part of a quality system or the community in their school. And then that led to quality systems. The interaction between quality labor and quality systems is what makes a well-oiled machine in quality. So the more complex the process becomes, the more difficult it is to diagnose the problem, was something that was brought up. So making sure that employees are well-versed and are provided with appropriate training and prepared for technological changes, combined with ensuring that the machinery is ready to go, is simple to use, and is available, functioning, and preparing for technological changes. So that that marriage between the two is integral to successful quality systems. Next. Okay, and how these concepts apply to the Angileri Quality Institute is that it's important that we embed quality training into all coursework, not just courses specific to quality, but across all degree programs, all disciplines, including CAD, engineering, electronics, so that we can expose the greatest number of students to processes of quality at Schoolcraft. Of course, highlighting Schoolcraft College, as I mentioned, as a top higher learning education for trade careers in the community. As the faculty discussed, they are integral and diligently working in that area. And developing a quality system, I thought this might be an angle for the Angileri Quality Institute, is that Schoolcraft develop a standard operating procedure or quality system that's either proprietary or specific to Schoolcraft that could then be maybe implemented in other sectors. So that's how what I gathered from the summit applies to what we could do here at the Quality Institute. So next up is Liam Fahey. And he's pursuing an associate's in engineering. He's also the president of the Manufacturing and Engineering Club at Schoolcraft, which I'm a member of.
Just a little bit about my professional. I do have some CNC experience at Lock Performance, and going to pursue a bachelor's at University of Michigan. Next. So one of the things that I learned at the Quality Summit was about the automotive quality tools. So the main things that I'll speak about today is what are they and why are they important. Next. What are they? Advanced Product Quality Planning and Control Plan, APQP. Product Part Approval Process, APPAP. Failure Mode and Effects Analysis, FMEA. Measurement Systems Analysis, MSA. Statistical Process Control, SPC. Next. Why are they important? They establish a more effective communication between quality and manufacturing. They catch and prevent potential errors. They create a faster, more reliable process and creates a more reliable and cheaper product. And I think that to be extremely important. In my field, when the processes of things don't align perfectly or near perfect, because nothing's perfect, there's a lot of problems that arise. And I think quality and going through these core tools and preventing these errors are extremely important. Next is Colton Schaefer.
One second before you introduce him. I'll also say about Liam is he's got a real future in sales. He mentioned networking with Plexus. The end result of that was he got them to agree to put on free training for the club. So.
Thank you, Dave. But next is Colton Schaefer. He is pursuing, his program of study is CAD mechanical design. Status as a student, he's part-time student, expected to graduate in winter 2023. His current work experience is a CAD designer under the full-time material science instructor of the MEC Schoolcraft building.
Thank you, appreciate it. So I'll be going over what I learned at the Quality Summit, and what that means to Schoolcraft. My particular topic was on No Trouble Found, or NTF, and then the issues from electrification in vehicles. So it might be a little like a rant of information, so I'll try to get through this pretty quick. So what I learned is No Trouble Found issues in vehicle repairs will increase safety hazards and decrease the chance of fixing it right the first time, or NRFTs. When problems are resolved quickly and efficiently the first time, customer satisfaction goes up. NTFs arise when components interact and lead to system-level failures, but no single component is found to be the root cause. The component that's flagged as the problem in the diagnosis gets sent back to manufacturing, where nothing is found to be wrong in the end. Data analysis issues have made the software at fault here, not a single physical part of the vehicle. Effectively pulling information from all factors of the issue to create a larger pool of data is essential to search for patterns within it and try to find useful clues. So compacting sensor data from the vehicle and categorizing it as much as possible and using different co-occurrence techniques will increase the likelihood of diagnosing the problem and resolving it the first time. So why is that important? Along with many other things I learned from AIG's Quality Summit, this increased the scope of what I knew was possible in manufacturing and production. Going into CAD mechanical design, I find it very important to understand quality practices, standards, and how they all fit into the end result of a successful project. Quality control is essential for a business to deliver effective product solutions that meet the expectations of the customer or exceed it. It reduces waste and pollution while simultaneously saving money and increasing the safety of everyone involved. Going there just was awesome to see all the different processes that went into it. That acronym cheat sheet would have been pretty nice to understand. It kind of reminded me of my engineering and quality control classes as well. Going into CAD design, you are becoming a problem solver, more than anything else. So no part is going to be produced without quality control. It's very essential, and I think it should be applied effectively into our courses.
I'm Sarah Bales again. I was coming here doing metallurgy classes. I want to do continuous improvement, further my background. I am a degreed engineer. I have worked with a heat treater as a quality engineer. I'm currently working with Torsion Control Products, the division of Timken Bearing, as their supplier quality engineer, and I have a Six Sigma black belt. I thought that what was most interesting to me there was the topic about why system audits are not driving change. Are we just checking the box or being proactive or reactive? The use of the data needs to speak to us. You need to use the data, even as our professors were talking about using the data to lead your actions. You need to use that data to speak what's going on and tell the truth of the story and react from it. We need to make sure we're paying attention to the details and the causal factors that created the failures. Make sure that any concerns will get closed out timely. If we're not closing out our concerns timely, we're going to have repeat actions and we're going to keep making the same mistakes. So they talked about think risk. You want to read the data, in control processes, have the closed loop, seek any alternatives or set stretch goals, reaching out further than you had planned, and looking at your KPIs or key process indicators, another one of those acronyms that all us quality professionals like to use. So you want to look within your organization to make sure you're not having that check-box mindset. You don't want to just go out to do audits to get them done and move on and go past. Don't do your internal audits or your layered process audits just to have that evidence to have it done. Let it mean something to you, have it be worthwhile. Make sure you're navigating and utilizing the quality management system, which is effective when owned by the entire organization, another one of those acronyms. Successful auditing is not just one time a year. Make sure you're auditing throughout the year and keep improving on your process. The audit failure can only take place when you're not utilizing the data. So we want to make sure that when you're doing audits or when you're doing looking at your system, we're so quickly to try and get it done so that we're done with our internal audits before the external auditor comes in, or done with our, I got to do this process audit this month and get it over with and check the box. But if you're not utilizing that for the tool that it is, it's not going to do anything to help you with your system. Next is Mimi.
Okay, I know we're running out of time, we're kind of out of time, so I'm just going to go into the aspect of why zero defects is important to be a part of the quality program that we're doing at Schoolcraft. So if you can skip to my last slide. Perfect, thank you. So in quality, it's kind of hard to drive for zero defects at the moment because of the convergence of many factors such as EVs, EVs and their mission profile, supply chain, struggle to meet standards, and the one that I thought was most important, which is retiring knowledgeable workforce. So to combat, or to strive and achieve zero defects in quality education, I believe it's important to understand each aspect of industry. As you can see, my little funnel, I kind of stole the visual from another slide I thought was really important, because in OEMs, we have regulations they must follow, standards that must be met, that goes into supply chain and outcomes, understanding, communication, problem solving, and mainly education. So as we talked earlier about investing in students, investing in product, I think it's important to implement quality circles within the program, as we've seen in one of the companies that shared their story about implementing quality circles. And what they found was that it gave them better results, cost reduction, better culture and teamwork, and I think it's important in our program to start it young, so you can see results in industry. So as Kush discussed earlier, reactive, productive, and predictive quality, and IETF 16949. If we implement quality circles, teamwork, and collaboration in the program early with students, we come into the industry and field ready and prepared with these mindsets and skill sets to succeed.
And with that, I think Schoolcraft can take a bow. I think it was a pleasure working with them for the day and a half that we were running around the conference and trying to get everybody exposed to as much as possible. So I'm pleased to be part of the advisory group for the new quality program, and look forward to great things. Thanks.
I think we could take a few minutes for Q&A, and I'm sure the tabletop discussions will be quite robust anyway, even if we cut down a little bit. Are there any questions from the audience while we have these wonderful students up here? Oh, good. Oh.
So I think we have some other students here, is that right? So what are your suggestions for them?
Okay, as someone that is finally becoming a senior after completing this semester, I want to tell other students to make sure you put yourself out there and actually put yourself in the situations, exposure, because the Quality Summit was actually my first time doing anything with industry, and it was kind of nice to get like a little piece of the cake, see how like everyone is human, and the number one thing they talked about was the why in quality. So understanding the why, like why you're doing something, why you're producing something, and also understanding that the quality that you put out is the quality that your suppliers give you.
Well, thank you. We're coming. Do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to kind of add on top of to what she said. That sums up a lot. I think being involved with the school is very important. You know, there's a lot of, like we've heard today, there's a lot of businesses that want to work with students. They want the employees, they want the training, the experience, and visiting an event like this with the quality, like a lot of the networking that I was able to do, it leaves a good impression on them of me, and then it also, they can open up doors, and they can open up doors that can lead you to other doors, and it can be endless, and you can take that as far as, you know, you continue to take it.
Okay. One of those doors, by the way, it was mentioned earlier about going to, where was it, Florida in January or something? IPC, the organization that connects all of electronics, has a huge show out in San Diego in January. And they've pretty much offered, if they can come up with the sponsorship dollars to go to that conference, they will get basically a tour of 1,000 exhibits and an understanding of everything that's going on in the electronics industry. So if we've got any, and it doesn't have to be this group, but if you have students, I don't have a dollar figure yet as far as what the sponsorship is, but I'll be there too, just because it's January, right? Thank you.
Thank you, students. Very, very insightful. Okay, the very last thing we're going to do before a tour is a tabletop discussion. All right, everyone, let's close out our discussions. And I'm going to start at table 14. And please, you know, after a table reports out, if they said something that you had already talked about, just provide something that wasn't discussed yet.
Question one. So some of the stuff that we learned about today that we weren't necessarily aware of beforehand was, one, some of the things that go on here at the MEC, the level of detailed thought that goes into which courses lead to which employment paths, and the connectivity to the different employers and industry was pretty impressive. Also, the huge emphasis on internships here was really cool to see. Yeah. That was. A major topic point here was just the continued. We were all very impressed with how much outreach there is currently from the industry towards their students, right? We were not necessarily aware of, because we've all done our education previously, but the outreach to not just college students, but high school students and middle students too. The fact that we're thinking that far ahead and trying to attract students to these careers was cool to see.
Thank you, table 14, and I'm going to pick on table 13. Let's talk about some things that you discussed.
Okay, in terms of a couple of the things that we learned today, the company's hiring before degrees, so the idea of the stackable credentials was something that was a new concept that is going to help students think differently about how they plan their program of study. Part-time opportunities for internships are something that model is already starting to change, but it needs to change more to fit into the working schedules and the things that students need to be able to do in terms of going to school. And then how opportunities like this, the conference that the students went to, really goes through and builds confidence, leads to relationships, and just the beneficial mutual relationships within the industry of helping each other out and how powerful these things are.
Thank you, table 13 and table 11.
Hi, everyone. My name is Malia Connors. I'm a student at Schoolcraft College. It was actually kind of interesting because I am the only student at this table, so we got to kind of see, you know, what it looks like behind the scenes and then from a student perspective. A very good topic of conversation at our table was the 8 components of professional skills that businesses are attracted to. And I actually mentioned to them that on every syllabi that students receive at Schoolcraft College, those skills are listed. So that students are aware that throughout getting their degree or whatever they are achieving at Schoolcraft, they will have covered all of those 8, skills by the time that they do graduate or get their certificate. Something else that we mentioned was the fact that so many students don't know about the workforce that is available to them and the need for workforce development. I have the honor of being part of Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society at Schoolcraft College. So I do work very closely with Dr. Cerny as well as the CFO and other people higher up at Schoolcraft. So I've gotten to see, how much we need workforce development, but also how much it is accessible. So I think that from a student perspective, they need to see that, internships are available. They don't have to get a job at McDonald's. They can get a job at the environment that they want to be in the future. So that was something that I found that was very interesting, was just that there are so many opportunities available, and kind of just, continue to let those students know that it is available and that, workforce development is needed, and we are working to do that.
Thank you, Malia.
We went down the list here and we wanted to learn what we knew today. We were most impressed with the fact that 30 to 40% of General Motors is hiring people with certifications, and they're working on 50%. So and that you could take a class at Schoolcraft and get into the workforce right away. So we think that understanding manufacturing industry and promoting manufacturing and construction as a career is important. We know that employers need workers, and so that came up, and we think that we need to demand a technical education from our school systems. So that's the things we came up with.
Great, thank you. And who's the?
At our table, we had a great mixed group of faculty and students and representatives from the industry. And we talked about how it was new for us to learn about AIAG and what they offer students. We were surprised that industry employees don't have exposure to quality in the way that we thought we did. We had made some assumptions about that. We were surprised about the urgent talent need and how ready employers seem to be, and that flexibility is now part of their outlook, whereas in the past it probably was not, based on some of our experience. And we felt that there needs to be more consideration for non-traditional students. Non-traditional students have experience, they are already making a living wage, they have families, and if they would like to enter an industry, they can't do that at $16 an hour. So how can we work with them to help them get into a quality field and still have that living wage? And then finally, Schoolcraft can do more communication and outreach to our industry partners so that they are better aware of everything that we have here in relationship to internships and the programs, so that companies can take advantage of those.
Thank you.
We too had a cross-functional table with students and instructors as well as businesses, and it was interesting that we all felt that education and experience were critical in where this world is going, and that's encouraging, and it's a breath of fresh air, because growing up myself, I knew I was pounded with education, education, education. So you get all these degrees, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm overqualified. You've got the experience, and being able to apply it was wonderful. And that opportunity is key. What we also found is a huge catalyst and an opportunity is the integration of all of these places and platforms, taking the Schoolcraft and integrating it with the universities and integrating it with the businesses and integrating it with the combination of being able to create opportunities and pathways for these people to continue to learn and grow and develop and transform themselves into what our world needs. And I ironically said, it's amazing to me that we're still tackling that challenge, because I remember that challenge being present when I started into the workforce, and I think to myself, we got to get this one right, guys, because we can't keep repeating ourselves.
It's a great point. Thank you. And who's the?
Hello. Our table had a discussion about how events like these are really helpful for prospective students and just students in general, because it makes them feel like they have a voice in this process. It feels like they're actual people, less than just being numbers on a piece of paper. We're having that transparency with the local companies just gives the students the clarity they need to continue, moving forward with their education and feel like it's going somewhere. And having that direct conversations with people this early in the process is very helpful in that. And all the creative recruiting tactics that these companies are using nowadays with the flexibility of the work schedules that was mentioned before, and how all these local companies and schools are, building relationships with each other. So it's really like a big team effort in that to really support the students moving forward in their careers.
I want to know if you get extra credit for not answering all the questions, but the ones that you do, they're in more depth. So just letting you know. As far as what did we learn today, we had 2 students and 2 Schoolcraft folks and an industry person. But one of the things came from our student was that, or actually it was Rob, he learned that there was a lot of competition in the marketplace for graduates. It's really, we had a conversation about being a seller's market, and that new employees really have opportunities for mobility in the workforce. But we also learned about the importance of quality that came through from Curran. And as far as what do students and employers need from Schoolcraft, we said that students need experience in the workforce. I think that's a common theme today. We've talked about internships and apprenticeships. But employers need graduates that have knowledge and experience, obviously then again, the internships. And that there's students and graduates need to have a lot of adaptability and to learn what the expectations are from employers so they can fulfill those expectations. And that obviously there needs to be a balance for graduates, that they know the content and that they've had the hands-on experience as well.
At our table, is this working? Okay. At our table, we had a mixture of Schoolcraft staff and students. So something that they all discussed learning today is really that everyone is actively seeking employees currently, and there's some competition around that as well. That there are industry changes. We discussed some industry changes from the 1980s up until now as well. And one of the big observations that our table made is that quality is the responsibility of everyone. And so we talked about how quality applies to all levels of the organization and how important it is for especially leaders to recognize that and focus on quality for the organization. Some of the things that our table recognized that they'd like to see more of is the communication and resources around these types of events. Everyone at the table loved this event and found that it was extremely essential to have certain events like these to be connected to our industry leaders and to learn what's out there. So the students and everyone at the table were talking about communication around marketing and just knowing what's out there and what's available for them to attend in the future.
Hello, good afternoon, almost, I should say. So we had a really nice group. We had actually 2 people, me being one of them, from the public school sector. We had industry, we had a student, and we had a representative of Schoolcraft. Our big conversation really was just about making that systemic approach of making sure that we're providing opportunities for school and industry to partner, and really making sure that we're doing the right job, and from my perspective of public education, where we are actually giving our kids those opportunities to get those, I don't want to say the word soft skills, but those life skills to be able to be successful. And then most importantly, then once we know that those opportunities are provided for them, as the industry was saying, making sure that they are grounded in what their key values are that drives their company, so that it's a good fit. Right now it's so much about just need that, and so they're just doing what they can to soften the impact of lack of employers and people for their industry. So it's making sure that the industry is grounded in what they want for themselves, but most importantly, making sure that we as the school sector are making sure that we are giving the kids opportunities for their soft skills and also to give them experiences with their technical skills. How did you table? Anything else?
I think that was the last table. Thank you. First of all, I thank you all for participating. I'll give each other a round of applause. One of the things that the advisory board for this Quality Institute wanted to do is have some tangible outcomes. So we'll be putting all of this together in an executive summary on what was discussed, what was learned. And it's important that we had everybody from different areas, the education, faculty, staff, students, and industry, and involved in the discussions. So we really appreciate you taking that time. At this point, we come to a close of the very first Angileri Quality Institute Symposium.